Okay, so I literally have 6 hours on the clock to make this broken GameCube controller into a custom piece that not only looks great, but also restores full functionality. As I want to pay homage to Super Smash Bros. Melee, it is clear that I want to design around my guy right here, Fox McCloud. So the plan for this is as follows. We rip the controller apart and give it some well-deserved TLC, and we swap out the stick boxes for fresh ones. We 3D print a new rumble bracket, fabricate the custom design and print it with my UV printer. We make custom resin buttons for it with a galaxy-swirl and the Star Fox logo implemented in the A button, and custom sleeve the cable to match the rest of the controller. Now this is a long list of things to do, so we better get started. And for those who don't know, hi, I'm Paul and this is my little mod shop. So let's dive right into it. Okay, so let's start with disassembling the controller. That's a quick task to actually see in what shape this broken controller is. Once we remove the board from the shell, we can see how much play those worn out stick boxes really have. Okay, so a quick change of plans because I just wanted to swap them out for these ones. These are like T1, T2 stick boxes, I might say. I actually don't quite know. Maybe someone from the GCC community can help us out with that. But those stick boxes are not the ones that are really sought after. I mean, they work and they can work really great, especially if you grease them well. But these ones that are in here are like the holy grail of stick boxes you can have. These are T3 stick boxes, full made of plastic. They don't wear out that fast, and yeah, and they are not they're not in bad shape. They have really no wiggle, so they will stay in. I will clean them up and grease them once more, and then they're good to go, I guess. Moving on to the graphic design. For that, I played around a lot in Photoshop. I first did a mock-up of something like a full all-over print of the shell, but I quickly felt like this would distract from the clean white aesthetic I was going for, so I just ended up putting Fox with his down B shine in the center of it all. Then I grabbed the Star Fox as well as my channel logo and threw everything in UV Studio, the software which controls the UV printer. Speaking of, this is the UV E1 UV printer. The trick to get the best quality out of everything and not screw this up is not printing directly onto the shell itself. I have found that a lot of times I get away with putting my designs on sticker transfer film, so I can reprint and adjust my graphics once the design comes out of the printer. For now, we can move on to the other thing we need to print out, the new rumble bracket. This is the website of Fire's custom controller. Here you can find like everything you will ever need around modding and adjusting your GameCube controller. There's a lot of free stuff on there, like templates for the controller itself, and also this rumble bracket he designed himself. This one is made to be screwed in, but we will come back to that later in the video. For now, I just threw the STL into Orca Slicer and printed a bracket in this new high temperature glass fiber PLA by Polymaker on my Anycubic Cobra S1C. Okay, that sentence was a mouthful. And this is how it looks when it's finished printing. Nice one. Now for the custom resin buttons, I have recently released a full guide on how to make those molds right here, so you can start making your own custom buttons for every console you have laying around. I won't get into making these in this video, but I have linked it down below as well as my printables page where you can find mold boxes to get you started pouring the silicone. Now moving on to the resin buttons themselves, I want to make some classic galaxy-swirl buttons, except for the A button, because this one will have the Star Fox logo implemented. I have printed extra ones out with my UV printer for that exact purpose, so we will come back to that in a bit. First we'll mix a batch of clear resin and fill the buttons to the halfway point. Then we need to wait around for just about 9 minutes. This is where the fast cure resin starts to set and has a consistency like caramel. Speaking of, the logo can go straight into the A button once I dipped it into the resin, just to make sure no bubbles get trapped under there. Then it's time for the galaxy swirls. I use some deep red mica powder this time around, as the logo is also red and I want to have matching colors. Alright, and now for the second part of the resin pour, we can close up the mold box and mix up another batch of resin. This time with black dye and some pearlescent powder mixed in, to give the deep space effect in the background of the buttons. Once I filled up every last of the holes with resin, the mold box get into my DIY pressure pot for around 2 to 3 hours. So we can leave them for now and check back on them later. Time for sleeving the cable. And this is where I also have to tell you that it is now a couple days later, because I couldn't for the life of me get this custom cable to work. Now I think I'm just bad at crimping, and so I fumbled around for the rest of the time with fixing the mess I made. And in the end I gave up for that day. Now a few days later I will follow the guide by Rocket Gaming, as this is the most comprehensive guide for sleeving an original cable. This process went so much smoother than before. It took me maybe the same length of time, but in the end I finally have a cable I'm really happy with, and it actually works. And I think it's also one of the most rewarding modifications, as with the new sleeving it truly feels like a custom piece, and also the red really accentuate the white controller I have picked for this. And while we still wait for the buttons to get finished, let's roll back in time and talk about today's sponsor, PCBWay. PCBWay is your one-stop solution for anything around PCB prototyping and manufacturing. But not only that, they also offer services like 3D printing, CNC machining, sheet metal fabrication, and even injection molding. So there's nearly everything they can help you with at your next big project you have planned. Ordering through their website is also made very easy, and there is also an online chat available if you need help at every step of the ordering process. I personally use PCBWare for a lot of my own projects, even way before they were a channel sponsor. Customer service is especially important these days, and I can't tell you how often they help me out with answering questions I had or mistakes I made when exporting Gerber files. So big thanks to PCBWare for sponsoring this video, and check them out in the link in the description down below. Now let's get the buttons out of the pressure pot. And boy oh boy, I am pleasantly surprised by the outcome of these buttons. Especially the left and right triggers are looking really nice with the transparent layer around the walls. The swirls in the other buttons also have turned out like the way I imagined them. And I'm super glad the Fox logo in the A button has not shifted away from the center. I just need to clean them up a little because there is a lot of flashing with this mold. I really need to make a new and improved one sometime in the future. Okay, now we have everything right on the table to start assembling the controller. So let's start by getting the stickers onto the shell. This part can be very finicky, but with a steady hand it can be done. I make sure to hurry not too much when ripping the transfer paper off, as it could risk damaging the UV sticker. Alright, this is starting to look really nice. Now let's put together the L and R triggers in the controller. The things to hold those in place also come out of the original one. Then the rest of the buttons go in. For the C trigger there is also this little metal piece we need to insert in the button before it goes in. Then the freshly cleaned membranes come on top of the buttons. Next is the final assembly of the PCB. For that we need to install the rumble motor bracket and get it onto the PCB. Now this version should be screwed into the controller. I don't have the right screws for that right here, so I just use some double-sided tape to put it in place. And with that the PCB can go into the controller itself. Then I just need to cable manage the newly braided cable a bit and close off the controller with the original screws. And with that we have finally finished the assembly. That was quite a ride to get to this point, but man was it worth it. I really love the look of the controller. It really feels like a custom piece, but also doesn't look too distracting. I was so worried about the buttons not coming out the way I want, but I think the result speaks for itself. And I must say, it feels really good in the hands. So this project turned from a 6-hour quick custom build to a way longer and at some point more frustrating learning curve on how to build one of those GameCube controllers. I certainly know now that I should give myself more time for such a project in the future. There are also some things I want to do better next time, like the UV stickers. These are looking fine, but honestly I would love to have really nice vinyl decals for my next build. I also had some issues with size, especially on the Fox design itself, but you wouldn't know if you don't look too closely. And of course the sleeving part. I should have gone with the original cable in the first place. Crimping seems one of those tasks I haven't really found a good tutorial on, and just learning by doing seems not to apply here, at least in my case. But overall I would say that this project is a success, and I can't wait to play some Melee in the upcoming weeks. Now, I hope you enjoyed the ride and learned something along the way. And if you'd like what you saw, I kindly ask you to subscribe to not miss out on future projects I have planned here on this channel. And if you want to make your own custom 3D printed GameCube like this one right here, the video on the screen is the next one you should watch.